And all of a sudden, it was like the clouds of depression that were hanging over me all that week parted like the Red Sea, if you will. And the hand of God came down and slapped me in the head and said, snap out of it, Rena. You can't change what happened to you, but you can change how it's controlling your life. And that's what she was trying to tell me. And I'm like, oh my God, Patty, seriously, I was banging on the steering wheel.
Hello, Rena.
Hello.
Welcome. How are you?
Good, Patty. Thank you. Thanks for having me on your show.
Thank you for agreeing to join me. I'm so happy to have you on the Break Time with Patty show. Dear friend, Rena is a lady I came across when I was watching the Unforgettable Presentations podcast with Mark Brown and Darren Lacroix, two legendary world champions of public speaking. Actually, they've both been on this show. I didn't have much time, so I started watching it with the intention of finishing later. That happens to you too, right, Rena, sometimes?
Oh, yeah.
I'll check later. But the thing is, her message was so powerful that I changed my schedule around. I said, I need to finish this right now. So I finished the entire episode of their podcast. And you know what I did right after? Can you guess?
Oh, I know. You need to tell them.
I watched a 15-minute TEDx talk right away after. And it moved me so much. It brought me back to some unfortunate events in my past. So I had to reach out to her, and lucky for us, she has kindly agreed to spend time with us today.
Yay. Thank you, Patty.
Yes. Without delay, let me introduce Rena Romano to you. You need to know. I want you to get the full picture, and then we'll start chatting. So I hope you're sitting down, because brace yourself. Number one, Rena is a professional speaker. She is a TEDx speaker, and she has had hundreds of thousands of views on YouTube. Her TEDx talk is being used in the United Kingdom for their ACEs program to help victims and survivors around the world. She has had the immense privilege to share her story on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Sorry, I'm a huge fan of Oprah. And she has been featured as a keynote speaker in organizations and corporations worldwide. Number two, that was just number one, by the way. Number two, Rena is a certified world-class coach. Since 2011, she has worked with thousands of people to help them find their voice and gain the confidence they need to speak effectively. She's a TED and a TEDx business and keynote speaking coach. She offers private, group, and virtual coaching. And she's also a certified mindset well-being coach. Number three, Rena is also the author of two publications, His Puppet No More, a memoir, and my Thrive Journal, Become Your Potential. And finally, number four, Rena is the host of a phenomenal podcast that is called Sur-Thriver Unleashed, Sur-Thriving After Sexual Abuse. Today, Rena is on a mission to help victims of abuse find their voice and live their best and most positive life. Woo!
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you are. I've talked enough. Let's get started. Rena, can you please tell us a little bit more about you as a young girl, a teenager, and a young adult? What was it like to be in her shoes?
Well, Patty, again, thank you for having me here and with your listeners. Yes, I am a Sur-Thriver. I didn't always be a Sur-Thriver. I was a victim and survivor of incest and sexual assault. I was a survivor of incest for many, many years. And watching Oprah, my TV hero and mentor, I decided to get help, get healed, and get happy. And then I decided to trademark the word Sur-Thriver. And the reason I did that, Patty, is because I am not ashamed of my past any longer. I am proud of the courage, strength, and tenacity it took to persevere. Once I go back and look at what it took to persevere through trauma, this is what I tell survivors to become a Sur-Thriver, is to not be ashamed of what happened to us And so that I'm on a mission to do that, to help people get help, get healed, and get happy.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love this so much. Obviously, there's there are so many individuals who have, who are victims, you know, the statistics anyhow. So it's huge. And it's such an important message. Even myself, I was moved because I've had unfortunate incidents. Nothing, well, nothing dramatic. They were dramatic. They should not have happened, basically. And it took a lot of time and a lot of healing, a lot of therapy to get past it. And so many people, anyhow, I'll get to that later. So well,
thank you for sharing that. And I want to stop you right there, because this is one thing, your trauma is your trauma, and we should not compare ourselves to others for what you went through or what I went through, because it's not a contest. So please don't say that again, because I want to acknowledge and validate your trauma. It's important that you share it and share it with the world. And trauma is trauma.
Yes.
Period. The end. And none of us should go through it.
Amen. You're absolutely right, Rena.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. And absolutely, it's not a competition. It's just there are certain levels of severity. Because I was very intuitive as a child, and I've been it was 2 attempted attempts, but I always ran away. I was very young, but I always ran back home. I never told my mom. I was afraid that she was going to be angry with me, and I felt like it was my fault. But these old grown men were like, I was very 6, 7, 8 years old. But the point is, they still caused trauma, but it did not. You understand? So some people actually live through the full trauma of it. So it was it was trauma, but it was a little trauma. That's what I mean. It was I was lucky enough to run. And
good. I'm glad to hear that.
Yes. So that's what I meant when I said that it was not that traumatic. It's a story I told when I told my mom when I was 30. She was fuming, like, why didn't you tell me before? But because I was.
But you're afraid.
Yes.
And you're afraid of those adults. So I get that completely. But anyway, yeah. Well, I'm very proud of you and your courage. And I'm very proud of you that you were able to run away. Yes. And some of us are able to, some of us are not.
Yes.
Yeah.
And yes, that's correct. And also I was able to avoid being around these men, and because I've seen them afterward. I had seen them afterwards because they were part of the rush, but I was able to like stay close to an adult, you know. So I knew, anyway, I was lucky. I feel I call this luck in this case, and I followed my intuition. So that's what I just want to clarify that. But yes, I agree with you. Trauma is trauma, and it's totally legitimate to feel what.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Thank you for your intervention, because it could help.
No worries.
So what was the turning point then where you said, enough is enough, I'm turning my life around?
Well, I was a young adult. I was 34. And as a young woman around the age of 22, 24, I don't remember the exact age, but I was raped by a colleague in my home. And he threatened to kill me if I told anyone. So I kept silent. But as I said, I was watching the Oprah Winfrey Show, my TV mentor and hero, and I saw how she went through incest and rape, and her becoming successful and quite, financially successful and on TV and known around the world. I'm like, wow, if she can get happy, get help, get healed, get happy after everything she's been through, I can too. But I was 34, and I was so unhappy, and I was suicidal, and I drank myself. I opened a bottle of liquor one night, and I was contemplating how I was going to kill myself. But the thing of it is, Patty, I really didn't want to die. I just didn't know how to live with the shame or the pain of what happened to me. It was difficult to live with the pain. It was difficult to live with the memories. And every day I would get up and put on this facade, this mask of pretend that my life was normal, whatever that is. And I couldn't do it anymore. I didn't want to do it anymore. but I didn't want to die either. So fortunately, I reached out for help and I called a crisis line, and the rest is history, as we say. You can find out more if you listen to my TEDx talk. But yeah, I got tired of being ashamed of crimes I didn't commit. And I asked for help.
Wow. And it's, oh, wow. Sorry.
Yeah. So that's what I did. Yeah. And now I'm an advocate and on a mission to help others find their voice.
Yes. And it sounds so simple, just get help, but that's the hardest step, right?
Oh, to ask for help. But here's what I want victims and survivors to understand. That now that I look back, Patty, I look back at how much strength it took every day to just climb out of bed, put on that mask of pretend and pretend my life was normal, to put on that mask of there's nothing wrong with my life. I put my clothes on, I go to work, act like nothing's wrong. But then after work, I'd go home, I'd get drunk, do drugs, sleep around. You know, wearing that mask was harder when I look back on it than asking for the help. Yeah, asking for help is hard. It is very extremely hard. But I want victims and survivors to know you're already doing the work. You're doing the hard work by pretending your life is okay when you're hiding this secret. Because hiding that secret is extremely hard, tough work. So if you can do that work, you can ask for help, because that takes courage, strength, and tenacity just as much as it does to pretend that we don't have this secret.
Wow. I'm going to be rewatching this after and taking notes. Too good, but I need to focus here. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing all of those wonderful tips, Rena. Thank you. So, which brings me to my next point, basically, about your TEDx talk. The title of it is Healing from Sexual Abuse Can Start with One Word. What a phenomenal and powerful message. Please, at home, do go watch it. It is
everybody wants to know what the word is. You have to go watch it.
Exactly.
Talk about a teaser.
Yes. What is that word, Rena? Come on.
Yeah.
But it is a very sensitive subject. I will not give any spoilers, but a very sensitive subject, but it is done with so much finesse. It was literally a masterpiece. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, you go be the judge of that. And my question to you, Rena, is what made you decide to share your story through the TEDx platform? And also, the second little question, did you have help along the way?
Yes. Well, even though I'm a certified speaking coach and I've studied how to do a TEDx talk because I wanted to do, and now I'm a TEDx coach, I had a message to share, Patty, and I wanted, as I said, and I say this in my talk, I grew tired of being ashamed of crimes I did not commit. And I know that shame was keeping me from my full potential. And so that is my message to victims and survivors, that we are carrying a shame of their crimes and we have nothing to be ashamed of. I am not ashamed of my past. I am not ashamed that I come from a poor family. I am not ashamed that I was raped at the age of 4 and until I was 24. I am not ashamed any longer. That those are things that happened to me. Those are things that I have been able to work through. Are you okay?
Oh, yes.
Those are things that I want other victims and survivors to understand. We're born into these lives and we have nothing to be ashamed of. If we're going to carry shame, let's carry the shame of not doing anything about it as an adult. Here's one thing, when I was in therapy, and I would go in every week, and I was so determined. I never missed a meeting because I wanted to get healed. I wanted to fix what they broke. And it was up to me to fix it. I'd go in every week, but I would cry, woe is me. I can't get married. I'm a victim. My life sucks. But that was just it. I was hanging on to victimhood because I didn't know any other way of life. And one of my sister survivors one night looked at me and she says, when are you going to stop playing the victim and start taking responsibility for your life? I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, sister. I am a victim. I didn't do this. And Patty, I was so upset. I went the whole week and I was like, I'm not going back to that group. They ganged up on me. Here I am a victim. And now they're re-victimizing me and they're blaming me and shaming me. But that's not what they were doing. The day before I go back to the group and I mind you, I never missed a meeting, but I was looking how to get out of that group because I was so mad at her talking to me that way. And I was crying and depressed and I'm sitting in the car, literally at a stoplight, and I'm crying. I hate those people. And all of a sudden, it was like the clouds of depression that were hanging over me all that week parted like the Red Sea, if you will. And the hand of God came down and slapped me in the head and said, snap out of it, Rena. You can't change what happened to you, but you can change how it's controlling your life. And that's what she was trying to tell me. And I'm like, oh my God, Patty, seriously, I was banging on the steering wheel. I'm stuck at this red light. And the people in the cars next to me were looking at me like, this lady's crazy. But I started laughing and crying and saying, oh my God, I get it now. I cannot change what happened to me as a child or even a young adult, but I can change how my story ends and how I write the rest of my life. It's up to me. And I was so happy to go back to group the next night. And I walked in, I was beaming from head to toe. And Patty, I have to tell you that the young lady that said those words to me, she's legally blind. And the next night I walked in and she's like, what happened to you? I can see your aura. I can see all the colors of your aura. You're beaming, you're glowing. She said, when I first met you, all I could see was shades of gray and disproportionate colors. And now you're glowing. And I told her, I said, sister friend, I was so mad at you for talking to me the way you did last week, but it changed my life. It was the best gift that anyone has ever given me. Your words hurt me because I didn't know what they meant in the beginning. And now I choose to receive them as a gift. And it's the greatest gift I ever received, Patty.
Oh, yes. Wow. I love everything that you just said. And it's true. Sometimes individuals will come into our life and it seems like they're like attacking us because they're attacking the status quo, basically. But really, they're helping us. They're giving us the tools we need to snap out of it. And sometimes we need to be shaken back to our senses, right? So,
Yep. Snap out of it. It's like you're not going to get over it, but you can work through it.
And it's a journey.
It is a journey. And I love her. I haven't seen her or heard from her since we all went our separate ways in group. But it was the best gift I was ever given. And now, now I'm living my life. I'm rewriting the story. I'm rewriting the ending.
Yes, preach, Rena. Absolutely. It reminds me of a conversation I had with this man of God this one time. And he told me that his life turned around when he had a conversation with his 100-year-old self. So just quickly, it's as if, Rena, you're going in the future, talking to your 100-year-old Rena on her deathbed. And the question is, it's not, you don't need to answer this, but just for the exercise, what would she tell you to do differently from today until you make it to your deathbed so that she dies with no regret.
Oh, I say this all the time. I'm not going to die with regrets, and I don't mind sharing this now.
Oh.
Let go of the shame. You know, look at your life as there are lessons there, many, many lessons. Life doesn't happen to us. Life doesn't happen because of us. I thought everything that happened to me, it was because I was a bad person. I now know that's not true. They made me think that. They made me feel that. So when I die, I'm going to die happy. I'm going to die knowing I took back my power, because living in shame and living with any regrets, Patty, is giving them a power over me they no longer have. And I'm not going to die with any regrets.
Yes, 100%. And that's exactly what shifted my life, is that I understood that, because I was living in the shame, because I had another incident happen to me when I was a teenager that completely shifted my way of seeing men and relationship with men. And I studied like a bunch of toxic relationships, basically, one after the next. And when that man asked me that, I said, oh my God, because I was living with shame and feeling on being inadequate or unworthy. And even if on the outside I look great, I look happy and joyful. I'm a very joyful person by nature. So nobody really knew that I felt the void inside of me. But when he told me this, I goes, oh my God, I was 40 when he asked me this. I go from 40, let's say I die at 80 years old. I have from 40 to 80 to change, to write a different story, just like you just said. Because I kept thinking when I was 20, I shouldn't have done this. When I was 25, 2 weeks ago, like I was filled with regrets. But from that moment on, I started, whatever happened. I cannot change that. It's out of my hands. But now I'm in full control. God is in control because I surrendered my life over to him. But I am fully in control of the action the step that I choose to follow going forward whenever I die. So
that's wonderful. And that is such a great, some great steps to take. So thank you for sharing that, because what would I tell myself in my deathbed is that, here's what I want people to know on a different part of that, Patty, is we may not fill all of our bucket lists by doing things and traveling or having the cars or the homes. The house doesn't make a home. It's the people inside that house that makes the home. It's not the belongings inside these walls. It's the people inside the walls. And if you can bring happiness and joy to yourself, we were born to live in joy, not hate and pain and despair. And we can create our own reality. And had she not basically, hit me upside the head with that statement, I would still be playing and stuck in victimhood. Hopefully not. That's been many years ago, but it's been a journey. And do I fall back in victimhood sometimes? Yeah, I'm normal. I'm human. But I find things, I use affirmations to keep me positive. I go for a walk. I take my shoes off and go stand in the grass. They call it getting grounded. There's just so many things that we can do to bring ourselves back into the moment and bring ourselves into joy, because we all deserve to live in joy.
Yes,
we
do.
Yes, ma'am.
So just actually, you help a lot of people to get to that point. You created the Thrive Perspective philosophy, which is a solution-based approach that helps survivors focus on and be proud of their courage, their strength, and tenacity to persevere during and after trauma. Can you tell us a little bit more about this initiative?
Well, it's very, very simple. Because when people come up to me and they say, oh, well, just don't let your past define you. Oh, well, just get over your past, or, whatever. And I'm like, no, wait a minute. My past does define me. Their crime, growing up poor, that doesn't define me. Growing up in spite of being poor, growing up in spite of being raped for almost 20 years, living through that, my courage, strength, and tenacity to persevere during and after is what defines me. So that is my past. My past does define me. Because if I didn't have that perseverance, I wouldn't be here today. That's what defines me. People think that circumstances define us. You know, how we grew up defines us. It's how we allow it to define us is what defines us. That's part of our legacy. And my legacy is, like I said, Patty, I'm not ashamed. My mama did the best she could as a widow. And I wanted things that she couldn't provide. But those were materialistic things that now I've been able to give myself as an adult. There are things I wanted as a child that, like I said, because of money, she was unable to give us that. But as an adult, all those things I wanted, I've been able to give myself. But you know what? It really didn't bring me any joy. What brings me joy is knowing that I could do it. What brings me joy is waking up every day and being able to smile and say, I'm not a victim anymore. So there you go.
Thank you so much for this. What is your best advice for someone who has suffered from abuse and has remained silent to keep the peace because they feel like has been too long since the incidents happened, they feel responsible for what happened, or because they fear that people wouldn't believe them if they spoke up?
Wow. Well, I went home every year for Christmas and pretended like that, and he was there. And so to keep the peace, but it came to a point where I needed to get help. And he had moved to California. This was my older brother, and I moved to Florida. And like I said, I was suicidal. And I know that keeping this inside of us does not work. We have to tell someone. Now, you don't have to tell the whole family unless you want to. That's an individual a choice. But you must get help, get healed, and get happy, because you can and you should. I am on the RAINN, RAINN Speakers Bureau, and you can call them. It stands for Rape and Incest National Network. Call them if you need help. Call somebody, tell somebody if you need to keep the peace. But here's the thing, if you're an adult and you're still putting yourself in that situation to show up around where those perpetrators are, you don't have to. You don't owe anyone an excuse why you're not coming home for Christmas anymore, or why you're not coming home at Thanksgiving or for the birthday parties. We have to protect ourselves. So I stopped going home at Christmas, and I use the excuse. Now I live in Florida now. It was a great excuse. It's too cold to come home at Christmas or Thanksgiving, because I knew he'd be there. I would go home in the summer to visit my mom and my other brothers and sisters at different times of the year, not at holiday gatherings. So, and we don't owe anyone an excuse why we aren't showing up, but we do have to protect ourselves. And if putting yourself in that situation is making you sick, because if you're leaving those situations and you're going home and you're drinking and doing drugs and sleeping around and continuing to abuse yourself because you're keeping this secret in, this is not healthy. That's just giving them a power that they really don't have over us anymore. That's all I can say, just get out of the situation. I have a friend who has abusive mother and father. And you know the saying, honor thy mother and father. Honor thy mother and father doesn't mean you have to put yourself in harm's way because of them. Honor them, to me, is to live your best life. Honoring your mother and father, if they're abusive, don't put yourself around them anymore. but take the best traits of them and become the person you're supposed to be. To me, that's honoring your mother and father. That doesn't mean putting up with their abuse.
Yeah. Absolutely. My goodness, yes. And it's a very sensitive subject for me because I'm surrounded by women, by young girls. I have my daughter, I have my 2 stepdaughters, I have my 4 nieces, and my goddaughter. So I'm surrounded by girls. I don't know, in my family, they only make girls, apparently. And I remember, so that's why it's very important. And I always told my daughter, no matter what, whenever I changed partners, for example, because when I got married, I always told my daughter, no matter what happens, you could always talk to me. I will always believe you. Like I know, like I want to be proactive, and I share that story, the stories that happened to me. I share them with my brother, so he can share that with his daughters, like so that there's a sense of comfort that the child says, oh, I can talk to my mama. She told me it's okay to talk to my mama, because my mom, it never occurred to her that those 2 situations. And you know what? I'll take a moment, if you don't mind, to explain those 2 situations very quickly. So
Go ahead.
Because I have a question, it will lead me to a question I would like to ask you on how we can better protect our children. So my mom, we were living in this neighborhood in Montreal, and my mom, my parents were very big gardeners, okay? They grew tomatoes and beans and whatever. So they asked me to go, I will change the names, okay? So she asked me, oh, here, bring this bowl of peas to Bob, okay? So I crossed over to Bob's house. He was a grandfather, an older man with a wife, and there were always children. There were always a lot of people in that household. So when she told me, my mom never even thought twice. There's always at least 5 people, in that home. I get there, little girl, maybe 6 or 7 years old. I get there, he's alone. Okay. Okay, whatever. So I just bring, here are the beans, he goes, oh, wait a minute, I have something for you, So he goes in a place which I knew was was his bedroom, because I had already been in the bathroom before. And he goes, come, I have a gift for you. So I go into the room, and he's just facing the wall, and he looked like anyway, I knew he was doing something around the area, because I knew because I had seen my father or my brother. I knew that there was,
right, exposing himself.
So, but I don't know, I didn't see anything. He was facing the wall, so he was doing something which I felt like he looked like he was removing some. I didn't understand as a child, but I knew that's very strange. He goes, come, I have candy for you, come. And I go, I don't know what happened. I just ran. Something felt wrong, and I just ran back home. Okay?
Good.
It was the first incident. So I don't know what could have happened, but that was already strange. I only understood when I was older. I did not even understand. I just knew there was something wrong, and I felt dirty, like there was something wrong. That's the number one. So again, beware for the parents where you send your children. I'm not blaming my mother, but she just wanted me to bring some beans. But
you trust these people, Yeah.
Yes. So the second am I okay with this line of is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the second incident, it was a friend. I went over at a friend's house. They were playing King Kong. It was premiering on TV. Those big. They were not flat screens back then. So there were a lot of children in the household. I used to play there all the time. My siblings and I went to play with their siblings. They were like a huge family. So everybody was sitting watching King Kong. The mother is in the kitchen with a newborn. So I'm sitting on the couch, because I'm a guest at their house. I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm all excited. It's King Kong on TV. And then the father was always a lovely, nice man, kind man, like the friend's father that you wish you could have, kind of thing, because he was always nice and friendly. He comes to sit next to me, and then he puts his hand on my knee, and then it feels, okay, he's being friendly, And then, so again, I was 7 or 8 years old. So then the hand starts going higher enough that I started feeling the urge to go pee. Okay. I said, okay, I'm going to go pee. So I got up. I thought he was rude, but he was being nice. I go to the bathroom, and then I realized I didn't need to pee. Okay. So his hand went high enough that it would make me uncomfortable for that reason. So then instead of going back to sit on the couch, I just ran. I went back home because I didn't feel right. You understand? So this is what I meant. So again, my parents thought that I was going to watch King Kong at a friend's house, in a house full of like 6 or 7 individuals, and they were all there. But still, it did not stop him from trying to do what he was trying to do. So
something was protecting you, and part of that is your intuition. And thank goodness you had it. When I was starting to be abused at 4, I didn't. My intuition was telling me that this person that I loved was doing something that didn't feel right. But he groomed me for so long, and he teased me. We played games, and he made me feel safe until that one moment. And then I thought, well, this person loves me, So it's a different situation when it's a stranger or somebody you know, but it's good that you have that intuition. And that's what we need to teach the children. I don't have children, but I just interviewed a young lady. Her name is Diane Hansen, and she wrote a book. It's called These Are My Private Parts. And it's in English and Spanish on Amazon. So those listening, if you want to teach your children, get that book. These Are My Private Parts. There's also a young lady that was on Oprah Winfrey. Her name is Erin Marin, and has a law called Erin's Law, and she's trying to get it passed in all 50 states that we teach children safe touch and unsafe touch. So if someone is touching you in where your bikini goes, in your bathing suit, for the girls, it's your bathing suit top and your bathing suit bottom. For the boys, if somebody's touching you in your bathing suit bottom, find someone you can trust and a trusted adult. So these things are out there now to teach children. And as parents, we should tell them, these are my private parts. If somebody's touching me there, you can tell mommy or daddy, it's okay. You know, we have to protect our children, and we have to teach them. You know, when I was being abused 40, 50 years ago, longer, no one thought that this would happen, especially from a family member. But now we're finding out it happens all the time. Incest is nothing new. It's been around for millennia. And but they don't understand the damage that it causes, especially incest. But now they're saying, you know, if a teacher or a beloved coach, they're calling that an incestuous act too, because we make them part of the family. A neighbor, like you going to the neighbors, we trust the neighbors. Oh, he's good. He's a good man. He's a good woman, or she's a good woman. I trust them with my children. You know, I think as adults, we still need to be on guard. We shouldn't trust anyone when it comes to your children. I mean, it's sad to say that, but you don't know who is a perpetrator and who isn't. You don't know.
And
So.
I don't know the stats, Rena, but it's usually always someone in your vicinity, like someone in your neighborhood or something.
98% of perpetrators are someone we know. I think it's 93 to 98%. It's very rare. Is it stranger danger?
Wow.
Yeah. It's usually a coach, a teacher, a librarian, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a brother, a mom, a dad, a neighbor.
So you have been changing the world by small chunks by sharing your testimony to get Senate bills passed in the USA. Can you share a little bit more about this mission that you have embarked on, please?
Yeah, I mainly the advocacy work that I'm doing is in the state of Florida, and we had a statute of limitations. And right now, in 2019, I testified at the Florida Senate to pass Donna's Law, and that was for anybody under the age of 16, I believe, that there's no statute of limitations. Now we're trying to get that changed to anybody who has sexual assault. Doesn't matter how old they are, that there's no statute of limitations. So that's being voted on. And I just testified at the Senate in Florida for that bill. And when it goes to the House, hopefully that I can testify again. Also, I was just interviewed this morning by a reporter in Jacksonville about the bill that's being in question. And he asked me a question. He says, well, what about the people who lie about being sexually assaulted? I said, well, let me tell you this. According to the CDC and the Ark of Hope of Children, for every one child abuse reported, 2 to 3 go unreported. So with those stats, they estimate that there are 42 million adult survivors just in the United States alone. So if one person falsifies a report, what about the other 42 to 50 million adults who are now survivors of sexual assault, child sexual abuse? And, and that number is much higher when we look at sexual assault as an adult. So, sadly, sometimes someone will falsify just to hurt someone. But look at all the people who keep silent for so many years because we don't want to hurt our families. So it just boggles my mind that when we do find the strength to come forward, well, what took you so long? Oh, why didn't you tell? And this, it's not the victim's responsibility to stop these crimes. Because I get asked that, well, what took you so long to tell? Well, why didn't you stop them? Well, why is it my responsibility to stop them from committing a crime? Especially when I'm 4 years old. We need to be teaching people that this is wrong, that incest is wrong, that rape is wrong. We need to, educate the public more. Now, I could go on, but anyway.
Yes.
So I'm advocating, I'll never get justice in a court of law because the statute of limitations is up on my perpetrators, and most of my perpetrators are dead now. The rapist, I won't call him a young man, or that the rapist who raped me in my bed, I don't know if he's still alive or not. And it wouldn't do me any good to pursue him because the statute of limitations is gone. But the statute of limitation doesn't run out for us. We live with PTSD. As victims and survivors, we use alcohol, drugs, sex to help us with the pain and memories of what happened to us, trying to suppress those. So people wonder, why did you get addicted? Why are you drinking? We're trying to use whatever we can to suppress the pain and the memories of what happened to us. And if the state legislators would understand that if they help victims get help, it would cost the state less money because there would be less addictions, less homelessness. So that's another story.
Yeah, story for another day, but such an important one.
Yep.
So I guess this is the reason why, okay, I should ask you, because you're the host of your own podcast, the Sur-Thriver Unleashed, Sur-Thriving. So what was your motivation then to start that podcast adventure, and what was your primary mission?
Well, I wanted a format where survivors, Sur-Thrivers could come on the show and talk about why they decided to get help, get healed, get happy, number one, and number two, what they do to when they find themselves going back into victim mode or into a negative thoughts. So I wanted to have a platform that's based on positivity because I want to show victims and survivors the endless positive possibilities of their potential after trauma, that we can rewrite our story. Our story may not have started out with a happy story, but it can end with a happy story if we choose to do that. And it's up to us now as adults. We can choose to, go after that brass ring and however that looks like.
Yes. Oh, this will become my new favorite interview to watch. No offense to my other guests. This is it. Ooh, and I hope it is for you as well at home. So we're just a few last questions before I let Rena go back to save the planet, one person at a time. Because, I'm a firm believer in the power of, the public speaking, or Toastmasters, particularly that club, but there are other forums as well, to help survivors become Sur-Thrivers, basically. So what made you go visit a Toastmasters club for the first time? I'm just curious.
It was in 2007. And actually, I was invited to attend a Toastmasters club probably 30 years ago. but I was too afraid, and I hadn't come out publicly about what happened to me. I hadn't done the work. But once I had done the work, I knew that I wanted to share my story. And so I needed to work on my public speaking skills. So in 2007, I joined Toastmasters International, started sharing my story. And as you know, as a Toastmaster, they have contests, and I found myself winning more evaluation contests. So I decided to become a coach. I love teaching. I love teaching people how to find their voice. So I became a certified world-class speaking coach through the Craig Valentine. He's the 1999 world champion of public speaking. And I went through his program. It comes up every June. So if anybody wants a link, I'll send you my affiliate link. But and then I knew I wanted to do a TEDx. So I started watching TEDx talks and studying and reading how to give a TEDx, because it's completely different from a keynote or motivational talk. It can still be motivational and still be inspirational, but it's conversational, just as we're having now. So it's not a raw jumping around on the stage. TEDx talk is there to offer solutions, not just expose problems. So I found my voice. Now I'm helping others find theirs.
Yes, you are. And what is the next step for Rena Romano, if I may ask, please?
The next step for me, I'm finishing up some videos. I offer free affirmations on my website. They can go to renaromano.com. I am currently thinking about writing a second book. My first one was his memoir, His Puppet No More, which is doing very well. And that's helped a lot of survivors and their family, the loved ones, if they read the book, understand more of what survivors go through. I don't get into the dirty details because I don't like to trigger anyone reading my book or anyone listening in the audience. My job is not to create trauma. My job is to help heal trauma. So I don't say or do anything to trigger people. Anyway, that's what I try. So not to trigger people.
Yes.
So writing another book is the next thing. So keep your fingers crossed for me. Prayers.
I will pray, and I'll be the first one to order it.
Yay.
On social media, you have amazing content. So I'll definitely.
Thank you.
I love reading so much, and I want to hear more of your story. And,
oh, yeah. Fantastic. And if they do, I have my Thrive journal. It's about affirmations, and it shows you the right way to do positive affirmations to make a difference in your life. Because Patty, as you know, we can create our own reality now.
Absolutely. Yes, I have so many different journals and tools. I have like my goals journal, I have my journal, and I have but I'm a firm believer in journaling to transform yourself into the person you want to believe. So
absolutely.
Yes,
thank you for so much for having me here. It was fun to be with you.
Thank you so much for coming. And so the best way to reach you, so you did mention a few things, but what is the best way to reach you if ever somebody wants to find out more about you, reach out to you, or go through your program? What is
Go to renaromano.com, scroll down the page. Almost immediately you can sign up for the free 52 weeks of transformational affirmations. If they want to see the TEDx talk, they can go to YouTube and type in Rena Romano TEDx, or it's on my website. They can scroll down to the bottom of the page and watch it. Give me a thumbs up on YouTube.
Yes, I'll be adding definitely all the links, and everything will be in the description. It'll be very easily accessible.
Great.
My main takeaways before I let her go. First of all, don't expose yourself if you don't need to. Protect yourself. You don't need to go to that Christmas dinner. You can find a way around it, okay? Protect yourself.
Yep.
And the next thing, get help, get healed, and get happy.
Yes.
That starts by tell someone that you trust, someone that you can go to.
Yes.
The next thing that stood out for me was protect your children. It can be anybody. And the last thing that really moved me was you can rewrite your story, rewrite it all. You don't have to remain a victim to your past.
That is correct.
Yes. And Rena is on a mission to help survivors become Sur-Thrivers. That's, and is there any last parting word, Rena?
Just be true to yourself. Do not be ashamed of your past. You have nothing to be ashamed of, and create your present and your future. It's in your hands now.
Amen. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
Has been, and my dear friend at home or at work, wherever you are, thank you for watching. I hope that getting to know this wonderful, thriving lady has touched your heart as much as it has touched mine. And I will leave you with this: the power of your voice can change the world. Find it and use it. See you in the next video. Bye.
Bye.